Let me tell you something, Bears Nation. The offseason just took a massive gut punch. The kind of devastating news that makes you stare at your phone screen in absolute disbelief, refresh the page 3 or 4 times hoping it's a mistake, and then throw your favorite hat across the room in pure frustration. Because the guy everybody wanted in Chicago, the guy who seemed absolutely tailor-made for this defense, the guy who had a personal, spiritual, almost destiny-level connection to our new defensive coordinator Dennis Allen, just signed back with his old team. And now, Ryan Poles and company are left standing at the altar, looking around and wondering what the hell comes next. But here is the thing, and this is why you need to buckle up and stay with me right now. What comes next might actually be better, or at the very least, just as good, because there are 3 battle-tested, veteran edge rushers still sitting out there in free agency, major names that would make this Chicago defense absolutely terrifying heading into the season. And the clock is ticking louder and louder before training camp slams the door shut. So let us get into it all, every single detail, and figure out whether the Chicago Bears are about to make the definitive move that turns this roster from a young contender into an absolute monster. First, let us pour one out for what could have been. Let us look at the heartbreak of losing Cam Jordan. An 8-time Pro Bowler, one of the most decorated defensive ends of his generation, and the franchise all-time sacks leader in New Orleans with an absolutely ridiculous 132 career sacks. That is a number that ranks 17th in NFL history. This man, at 36 years old, played in all 17 games last season and still posted 47 total tackles. 15 tackles for loss, 15 quarterback hits, 10.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. That marked the 7th double-digit sack season of his historic career, and his first since 2021, proving to the entire football world that Cam Jordan still has the juice. And guess what? He did all of that while working under a brand new defensive coordinator for the first time in nearly a decade. That is not a decline, ladies and gentlemen. That is pure, unadulterated dominance. Now, here is what made this entire situation so incredibly maddening for Bears fans. Dennis Allen, the man now running the defense here in Chicago, coached Cameron Jordan for a full decade in New Orleans. Allen was either the defensive coordinator or the head coach of the Saints from 2015 all the way through 2024, and Jordan was right there with him for every single year of it. In fact, Jordan recorded 82 of his 132 career sacks, with Allen serving as his coach. Think about that for a second. More than half of his historic Hall of Fame career production came directly under the guy who is now calling the plays on the Hollis Hall whiteboard. When Dennis Allen told reporters in Chicago that Cam Jordan is a freaking Hall of Famer and that he would love working with that guy again, that wasn't just a compliment. That was practically a public recruitment speech. And for months, analysts, insiders, and die-hard Bears fans were absolutely convinced this reunion was destined to happen. But it didn't. Cam Jordan is returning to the New Orleans Saints on a 1-year, incentive-laden contract for his 16th NFL season. A deal reportedly worth up to $11 million, with a base value of $7.5 million. A $15 million signing bonus, and $3.5 million in sack incentives. And when Jordan signed that contract, he smiled and told the media, "We love New Orleans, and New Orleans loves him right back." Meanwhile, Chicago is left looking in from the outside. It is a heartbreak. It genuinely is. Because not only would Cam Jordan have been a terrifying addition to this pass rush, but he would have been a mentor, a locker room general, and a scheme-perfect fit for everything Dennis Allen wants to do defensively. The Bears didn't pull the trigger, and now the Saints get to keep their legend. That is football. Cold, brutal, and unforgiving. But here is the good news, and this is where the show really gets going. Because the Chicago Bears are absolutely not done. Ryan Poles has been grinding all summer long. And with training camp right around the corner, there are 3 proven veteran edge rushers still sitting out there on the market, waiting for the right team to call. If Chicago is truly serious about competing in the NFC North this season, and they absolutely should be, then at least one of these guys needs to be wearing navy blue and orange very, very soon. Let us start with the biggest name on the list, the most decorated player still available. The guy I am officially dubbing Cam Jordan 2.0 for this Bears defense. Von Miller. Before we dive deep into Von Miller, I want to take a quick second to talk to you directly, Bears Nation. We put an incredible amount of hard work, sleepless nights, and deep dedication into producing sports documentaries like this for you. Every single piece of content we drop takes hours of research and editing to give you the highest quality insight into our favorite team. If you appreciate what we do, please hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, share this video with your fellow fans, and leave a comment below. Every single subscription equals an immense amount of motivation for us to keep pushing and building this community together. Now, let us get back to the legendary Von Miller. Future Hall of Famer, Super Bowl MVP, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 14-year NFL veteran, and here is the profound connection that should make every single Bears fan lose their mind. Von Miller played for Dennis Allen's defense all the way back in 2011, when Allen was the defensive coordinator of the Denver Broncos. That is where Von Miller's legendary career originally launched. That is the very foundation of one of the greatest defensive legacies in NFL history. And now, at 36 years old, Von Miller is a free agent. And Dennis Allen is building a brand new defensive empire on the shores of Lake Michigan. At this stage of his career, Miller is best used as a true designated pass rusher. And that is perfectly fine, because that is exactly what the Chicago Bears need right now. They don't need Von Miller to play 50 grueling snaps a game. They need him to come in on 3rd and long, line up across from an exhausted offensive tackle, and make an opposing quarterback's life absolutely miserable. And he can still do exactly that. Last season, playing with the Washington Commanders, Von Miller appeared in all 17 games and posted 9 sacks, 32 pressures, 15 quarterback hits, and 6 tackles for loss. 9 sacks. That number would have been good enough for second on the entire Bears roster last year, right behind Montez Sweat. Let that sink in. With quarterback play in the NFC North being at an all-time high collectively, the Bears absolutely must be able to get after the passer. We can safely assume Jared Goff's production in Detroit will not drop off. Jordan Love seems to be in a fantastic situation up in Green Bay, with his young offense staying pretty much intact. And now, you have got the incredibly dangerous Kyler Murray out there too, after his stunning move to Minnesota. The point is simple. The Bears are going to face elite quarterback talent week after week in this division. And you cannot afford to let those guys sit comfortably in the pocket and pick your secondary apart. You need heat. Constant, suffocating heat. And Von Miller, even at this advanced stage of his career, is a total blowtorch. His career resume reads like a museum exhibit. 138.5 sacks, 27 forced fumbles, 9 fumble recoveries, and 271 quarterback hits. That is over 1 quarterback hit per game throughout his entire 15-year career. The man has been terrorizing offensive linemen for a decade and a half, and he still clearly has something left in the tank. Adding another champion and a playoff veteran to the 9th youngest team in the NFL would massively benefit this locker room. This is still a very young Bears team. Caleb Williams is in the crucial beginning stages of his development arc. Austin Booker is a rising star who is still learning what it truly means to be a dominant edge rusher in this league, having a 2-time Super Bowl champion in the building, a guy who has been to the biggest games, who has played in the most high-stakes moments, who has won when everything was on the line. That is priceless. Von Miller would mentor Booker the same way a master craftsman teaches an apprentice. And you can bet Dennis Allen would love every single second of that relationship. The connection between Allen and Miller goes all the way back to the very beginning of both of their legacies, bringing them back together to end Miller's career and potentially launch the Bears into championship contention is the kind of cinematic story that writes itself. Now, let us talk about the second name on this list, because this one comes with a psychological twist that is almost too poetic to believe. Za'Darius Smith, three-time Pro Bowler. And here is the wildest part of his story. He has already played for 3 of the 4 teams in the NFC North. He spent 3 incredibly productive years with the Packers, making 2 Pro Bowls there. Then he went to Minnesota and made another Pro Bowl while racking up 10 sacks. Then he bounced through Cleveland before landing with the Detroit Lions mid-season last year. Smith quietly had a very solid 2024 campaign, tallying 9 sacks and 66 quarterback pressures across 17 games. In fact, Smith finished second on the Lions roster last season with 4 total sacks, despite playing in just 8 games for the team after the trade. Chicago would be the final definitive stamp on his NFC North passport. And that is not just a fun narrative for the media. It comes with immense tactical value on the field. Za'Darius Smith knows this division like the back of his hand. He knows the offensive coordinators. He knows the blocking schemes. He knows the tendencies of the offensive tackles, and he knows exactly what it feels like to play in the freezing cold of Lambeau Field in December, in a screaming Minnesota Dome, or in front of a fired-up Detroit crowd. That deep, institutional knowledge is worth its weight in gold. Many top football analysts believe that Chicago would benefit greatly from adding a proven pass rusher before the season starts, specifically listing Smith as an option that would elevate the Bears' defense to elite status. The logic is simple. Adding a proven commodity like Za'Darius Smith before the grueling days of camp begin gives your defense an immediate veteran edge. Now, there is a complication here. Za'Darius Smith has made it very clear where his heart currently resides. He recently showed up on the Bet Awards red carpet, and when he was asked directly about his NFL future, he didn't mention Chicago at all. Smith said, "We both know where I want to be.
Hopefully, I can get back to Detroit, because the coaching staff and everybody in the front office are great. When I am there, I feel like a leader, like I can influence the young guys and do great things." He openly wants to go back to Detroit, our direct competition. But that actually makes this pursuit so much more interesting.
Acquiring Za'Darius Smith could do some legitimate long-term damage to the 2-time reigning division champion Lions in the process. Detroit's biggest roster hole right now is still at the edge rusher position. Even with Aiden Hutchinson set to return from the devastating broken leg he suffered early in the 2024 campaign. Detroit hasn't made any major, meaningful additions at the position since then, so let us play out this scenario. The Bears swoop in and sign Za'Darius Smith. They swipe him right away from the Lions' grasp. They rob Detroit of the exact veteran pass rusher they desperately need to balance their defense. They plug him directly into Dennis Allen's defensive scheme, where he immediately understands the NFC North matchups. They give him a smart, cheap, incentive-based deal that makes perfect financial sense for everyone involved. And then they watch him create absolute chaos in the backfield against his former teams. That is not just good football strategy. That is gamesmanship of the highest order. You hurt your absolute rival while simultaneously upgrading your own roster. Ryan Poles would be playing Grandmaster chess while the rest of the division is playing checkers. And now, we come to the third name on this list, and this one is easily the most underrated, the most overlooked, and potentially the most perfectly suited for what Dennis Allen wants to build in Chicago. Kyle Van Noy, former Patriot, former Raven, a brilliant hybrid linebacker and edge rusher who can effectively cover 2 vital positions on one single roster spot. In a modern NFL where roster flexibility is absolutely everything, especially on a team as loaded with young talent as Chicago is right now, Van Noy is the exact kind of Swiss Army knife that defensive coaches dream about late at night. Standing at 6'3" and 255 pounds, Van Noy has spent 12 highly productive years in the NFL, playing for the Lions, Patriots, Dolphins, Chargers, and Baltimore Ravens. His most recent season with Baltimore was a bit muddled due to organizational shifts and defensive changes, and his raw numbers reflected that chaotic environment. But look at the year before that. In 16 games with Baltimore, Van Noy posted 41 total tackles, 21 quarterback hits, 14 tackles for loss, 52 pressures, an eye-popping 12.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, and 2 pass deflections. He was a dominant force for the Ravens. 12.5 sacks and 52 pressures are not the numbers of a player who is washed up or slowing down. Those are the definitive numbers of an elite football player who found the right environment and absolutely thrived. And here is the core argument for bringing him to Chicago. Dennis Allen is exactly the kind of mastermind coach who can unlock that elite version of Kyle Van Noy again. Allen has a phenomenal league-wide reputation for getting the absolute most out of veteran players, for putting guys in the perfect position to succeed, and for designing complex defensive schemes that maximize what a player does best while hiding their weaknesses. If anyone can revitalize Kyle Van Noy and make him a double-digit sack threat again, it is the man now calling the defensive shots in Chicago. And here is the absolute cherry on top of the Van Noy argument. He fills a glaring position of need in a way that does not cost the Bears a fortune. If Chicago is going to make another significant move this summer, it is almost certainly going to be a cost-effective free agent acquisition. Van Noy fits that financial bill perfectly. You sign him to a low-base salary heavily structured with performance incentives, you bring him into camp. And you let Dennis Allen figure out the creative ways to deploy him. You get elite edge production, inside linebacker flexibility, and championship veteran leadership all bundled into one single cost-effective roster spot. That is incredible, undeniable value for a front office. Now, let us zoom out for a second and look at the beautiful big picture. Because this is where everything truly comes together for this franchise. The Chicago Bears are no longer rebuilding. Let me repeat that for the people in the back. The dark days of tanking for draft picks, tearing down rosters, and praying for a distant future are officially over. Caleb Williams is the franchise quarterback. Ben Johnson is the brilliant head coach. Dennis Allen is running a defense that possesses the raw talent to be arguably the most elite unit in the NFL. Montez Sweat is already established as one of the most terrifying, disruptive edge rushers in the entire NFC. Dayo Odeyingbo was just signed to a massive, lucrative contract to be his permanent running mate on the defensive line. Austin Booker is a young, hungry edge rusher with an enormous, skyrocketing upside, and Grady Jarrett is fully healthy and ready to absolutely disrupt the interior of opposing offensive lines. The Bears have the structural pieces. They have the foundation. What they desperately need right now is one more veteran edge rusher who can come in, create immediate pressure on crucial third downs, mentor the young stars in the locker room, and push this entire defense from being just good to being truly great. Cam Jordan chose to stay in New Orleans. That chapter is officially closed, and we wish him well. But Von Miller is still out there waiting. Za'Darius Smith is still out there waiting. Kyle Van Noy is still out there waiting. And training camp is looming right around the corner. The window for Ryan Poles to make a defining roster move is open right now, but it will not stay open forever. Poles has already proven multiple times this offseason that he is not afraid to be aggressive, bold, and decisive. He has made multiple key roster moves during the break and clearly has more upgrades on his mind. The real question is not whether the Bears need another edge rusher. They absolutely do. The real question is, which legendary veteran gets the phone call? Which proven, battle-tested warrior gets to put on the historic navy blue and orange and ride into this monumental season with one of the most exciting, explosive rosters in the entire NFL? This is undeniably the most exciting Bears team we have seen in a generation. The city of Chicago is completely hungry for a winner. The fans are energized and ready to explode. The roster is absolutely loaded with talent, and one more dominant edge rusher pushing the pocket, teaching young guys like Austin Booker the tricks of the trade, disrupting opposing quarterbacks, and making life a living hell for Jared Goff, Jordan Love, and whoever else dares to step onto the grass at Soldier Field. That is the exact missing ingredient that separates a good, hopeful team from a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Bears Nation, the hunt is officially on. And it is an absolutely glorious time to be a fan. As we wrap up this documentary, I want to say an immense thank you to all of you for watching. We pour our hearts, souls, and endless hours of hard work into creating these videos for the Chicago Bears Voice channel. Every single piece of editing, script writing, and research is driven by our passion for this team and our desire to bring you the best content on YouTube. Please take a second right now to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with every Bears fan you know. Your subscriptions give us the ultimate motivation to keep producing these deep dives. Drop a comment below and let me know who you want Ryan Poles to sign. Is it Von Miller, Za'Darius Smith, or Kyle Van Noy? Turn on your notifications so you never miss a breaking update. Bear down, baby. Let us go get that edge rusher and chase a championship.